What is up, guys? JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan, and today we're going to speak about something a little different because my platform is fitness and nutrition, but I don't limit myself only to that, and here's why. I have always said that how you do anything is how you do everything. If fitness were just about an aesthetic destination, looking a certain way, getting to a certain way, meeting a certain metric, I would have left the building a long time ago. Let me explain further. When I got into fitness about 20 something years ago, I was a young guy. I was coming out of my soccer career and I was truly passionate about the realm of fitness and nutrition, but there were a lot of areas in life that I hadn't explored yet. I had been groomed to be a professional soccer player. 5 of my family members had played professionally and had done really, really well. And I thought I was going down that trajectory and things were going to go well for me. And I was going to retire in my late 30s and call it a day. Well, my career ended at the age of 24. And so when I came out of my soccer career, I was green, meaning I knew nothing. I had absolutely no expertise in anything. I hadn't been in school. I mean, all these things that most people had already done by the age of 23, 24, I was way behind because I was really just pursuing a soccer career. And so when I got out of my soccer career for 9 months, I kind of stood around twiddling my fingers, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And it was a pretty interesting time where I had to explore how to reinvent myself. And in doing that, I remember that I'm 5'8", I was 135 pounds, pretty lean, right? I was a midfielder. I had to run many miles in training and then even more during soccer games. So I couldn't put any weight on at all. So when my soccer career ended, the number one thing I did was hit the gym. I wanted to put some meat on my bones, right? And by the grace of God, by his providential grace, I bumped into a world-renowned bodybuilder guy in the Canary Islands in a place called Lanzarote. And just walked into his gym, bought a membership and started working out. And he and I got really close. He took me under his wing, and I remember him telling me from the very first day, he said, JT, if you want to excel in this in the next 6 to 9 months and bypass all of these people you see in this gym that have been here for many years, the first thing you have to do is you got to get your nutrition right. And so I went down that route. He mentored me. He showed me everything he would do on a daily basis. He showed me how to weigh food. He showed me what my macros were. He showed me how to fuel my body based on the training. And he taught me so many different components of nutrition that I then brought onto the floor, onto the training floor. And with my work ethic and discipline that I had from playing soccer, I quickly excelled. And within 6 to 9 months, I looked physically better than most of the people that had been there for many years. Now, what was interesting about that particular trajectory was that I started to see different areas of my life get better. I started to see my finances increase. I started to see my confidence increase. I started to see my interpersonal and personal relationships get better. And a lot of the issues that had plagued me as a kid, like dyslexia, learning disabilities, went away. And I truly can trace all of these things back to the fact that I focused on a very tangible area of my life called my physical body, which you can call it whatever you want. If you're a science person or you're a spiritual person, at the end of the day, we are in a body, and most people sort of neglect that, right? We tend to go for the auxiliary things, and then the main thing we kind of leave aside, and then we wonder why things aren't necessarily working the way we want. And so thankfully, this is what wasn't even me being a genius. I went after that particular area of my life, which I knew was going to bring massive returns on investment. So I did that, and I started to see my life progress. So why do I say this? I want to share with you a blueprint, what I call my life book, okay? My life book came as a byproduct of coming into this knowing, this understanding that one of the most tangible ways to excel in life, in your spirituality, in your interpersonal and personal relationships, in your confidence, in your cognitive abilities, in how you do everything in life can stem from physical activity and proper nutrition. So as a byproduct of all the exercise and all the things that I was putting myself through, I started to think different. And I started to think in terms of what do I want in different areas of my life? If I could excel in this physical area, how can I take these principles and bring them over here to my career, to my relationships? And so from that, I created my life book. And my life book basically is a set of principles where I got very, very specific, just like you have before when you've gone on a vacation, or maybe you've gone to a hotel and you've had an opportunity to choose and pick the things that you want from that vacation. Interestingly enough, the vast majority of us, right, never actually take the time to sit down and write out what we want in life. It sort of happens by default. This generally also happens sequentially if you're in a career, if you go to a university, they kind of set a track for you, but that's not your track, that's their track, and they're teaching you a trait so that you can go out and do whatever you need to do. And that's important, and I think that that's positive, but we never actually create a curriculum for ourselves. This is what I did through my life book. So in my life book, I sat down one day and I started to realize that there were so many areas in my life that I just hadn't explored, that I really, really hadn't taken the time to sit and write out. And by a God incident, I was invited to a conference and where the speaker that day said, you need to get very specific about the things that you want in life if you actually want to bring those things to fruition, and more importantly, if you want to be hyper aware of those things so that life just doesn't pass you by, and then all of a sudden you're 80 years old in a rocking chair talking to your grandchildren saying coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? So I created my life book, and I remember it was in that conference that I sat in a lobby in a hotel, and I sat in a little corner with these papers right here. Okay, this is basically what I picked up, took a pen and a piece of paper, and I started out, right, one by one, tangibly creating every aspect of my life. So I started off with the ideal person, who I wanted to be as an ideal person, how I wanted to show up in the world. I wanted to excel in education. There were certain courses and things that I needed to excel in the things I was looking to do. And so I started to break those down, not necessarily from a college, but I got courses and certifications and things that would equip me to do the thing that I wanted to bring to fruition. So I became very intentional and I created my own curriculum. I then went and said, this is what I want for a career. This is what I want to wake up to do every single day. I want to be able to be very inspired and motivated by one particular thing that I create for myself. Maybe it's not even out there. And I created my own very career, and I just jotted everything down. What I wanted to do on a daily basis, what I wanted to get better at, what I wanted to bring to the world, how I wanted to show up, my net worth, how much did I want to be worth at 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, right? Got very specific. And here's where people get tripped up because they're like, well, what do I know? No, you just simply say, this is what I think I can do based on the things that I'm setting the ideal person on, the education, what's out there in the marketplace, what's possible for these particular things that I'm putting together. And you put together your net worth. And so, of course, you're putting some numbers out there and you're saying, this is what I want to hit. Then at the time I was a single guy, so I wanted to get very specific on my spouse, right? I wanted my wife to be a certain way, and I got very specific physical traits, character traits, personality traits, principles, morals, everything about her life. Basically, I sat down and I just jotted everything down. I wanted to get very specific about my ideal family life, how many kids I wanted, what I wanted to name them, right? I wrote all these things out. Ideal toys, vacations, bucket list things that I wanted to do in this lifetime. I wrote everything out. My ideal fitness, what I wanted my body to look, what are the things I wanted to focus on, weights, cardio, nutrition, how I actually wanted to show up and live my life. My emotional life, how I interacted with myself and others, how I dealt with conflict, and what I was willing to put up with and what I wasn't willing to put up with, quote unquote, boundaries in my life. I established those very, very, very clearly. And then I got into my spirituality. I understood that there's a mind, there's a body, and that there's a spirit. And I wanted to know what that meant for me. So I wanted to explore that. And at the time, I really didn't have sort of a spiritual direction. And so I just went through all traditional religions and started to, just study them for a little while. And I rationally and cognitively studied these relationships. But then something interesting happened, and I walked into my relationship to God through Christianity. And that is a story for a whole other day, but I got very specific on those things. I wanted to pledge to a charity, something that I knew was heartfelt, something that I knew that I wanted to take my hard-earned money and pour into as a pledge. And so I found the charity, and I got very specific about that. And then for that particular year, each year, I find 3 domino goals. Okay, those 3 domino goals simply say that my first big goal is going to knock over a bunch. My second big goal is going to knock over a bunch of other goals I have. My third big goal is going to knock over even bigger goals that I have. So 3 big domino goals. An example of that is if I am looking to get into a specific shape, right? And let's say I'm 200 pounds and I want to get down to 165 pounds because I'm 5'8" or 5'7". So my one domino goal would be to get to 165 because from there, my mind is working correctly, my vessel, my body is working efficiently, and that is going to straighten out a lot of my cognitive situations, a lot of my emotional situations. So you see how these things work. So I picked 3 domino goals and I got very specific. This little paper here, my friends, is actually 18 years old, okay? And if you can see, I don't know if you can see from here, but every one of these papers is highlighted. And the reason it's highlighted is because every single thing I have achieved, I have put a highlighter over. I want to share just one little interesting bit of this to show you how accurate this is. Now, before I go there, I want to preface this conversation with saying that this has absolutely nothing to do with the metaphysical world or with any of the woo-woo stuff that you hear out there from New Agers. This is literally just brain science, okay? There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is a part of the brain that recognizes things you have heard, you have seen, or you have experienced. In other words, it's in your forefront, and it's very much there in your forefront so that you can see it whenever it shows up in your world, right? Prior to that, you were deleting, distorting, and generalizing an idea. An example of that is if I tell you that I want to buy a red BMW, all of a sudden you start seeing the car everywhere. It's not that the universe is putting it before you, it's that your reticular activating system is now very aware of that thing that's in front of you, whereas before you were deleting, distorting, and generalizing that particular idea. That's what this is, right? This is activating your reticular activating system towards the things you actually want to achieve, and your brain shows it to you when it shows up in your world. Very simple, but very, very powerful when you put it to work. This was the ideal wife I wanted, right? Very attractive, personal, spiritual, devoted, career, 27. I wanted her to be 27, brunette. I'm gonna leave the one part that did not get highlighted. 5'3" to 5'6", wants a family, not a drinker, laid back activities, funny, ready to be serious, decisive, ambitious, supportive, works out, eats right, travels, spiritual, cool, independent, team worker, not a smoker, honest, and all those integrity traits that I wanted there. And then the one that actually didn't get highlighted is that I wanted to marry a female with green eyes, right? Something very superficial, but I wasn't gonna settle, and those were the things I wanted. Well, interestingly enough, the reason it didn't get highlighted is because I hit every single one of those points when I met my wife, except the fact that my wife is a brunette and she has darker features. She didn't have the green eyes. So I said, hey, I can do that without the green eyes, right? Interestingly enough, and how powerful this is that both of my daughters, the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old, have light eyes. My 6-year-old has hazel eyes, and my 3-year-old has green eyes. So I can pretty much highlight every single one of these because I achieved it. My friend, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it a coincidence, but what I call this is actually getting very specific about the things you want in life. And you can do that for yourself. You're probably wondering why a fitness guy is here sitting talking to you about life book, right? Aren't you supposed to be talking about fitness and nutrition? Guys, there's no separation between what I do in my fitness life and with my nutrition coaching than this, okay? This is just simply getting specific in other areas, just like I help other people in the realm of fitness and nutrition, but now we're actually taking those principles that we learn in the fitness and nutrition world, and we're turning them over into other aspects of your life so that you can bring your goals to fruition. Because I truly believe this. When you see someone that's depressed, bored, stagnated, or any of those catabolic emotions, the number one reason for that generally is they are just still. They're not moving forward. They are not growing, right? You're not excelling in your career. You're not excelling in your relationship. You're not excelling in your health. And that causes a lot of friction inside of us. So when we're moving forward, when we're growing as people, when we're learning, when we're excelling, we feel amazing. And that force, right, is one of the forces that has created all the things that you see in this universe is the idea and the growth mindset that helps you move forward and excel in all areas of life. Guys, I hope that this long video, number one, that you've watched it all the way to the end. If you have, I truly believe that this will be something incredibly powerful for your life. Leave your comments down below. If you have some questions on how to create this, I would love to comment back and help you put this together. Maybe even at some point we will get together and I can help you create one of these for yourself. But I can tell you right now that if you don't have one of those, you're living life reactively and not proactively. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, you're absolutely gonna love this video here. Check it out. My name is JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so we can stay in touch. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.